Hello, welcome to the Divine MF Podcast. I'm Richard H. Plime.
And I'm Nancy Thurman.
Yes, it's a beautiful spring day, so we thought we'd come outside. There's some cloud cover and then some sunshine. And some wind chimes and some birds. Shall we talk about the birds and the bees?
Yes.
What are we talking about today?
And the polarity.
Yes, the birds and the bees and the polarity.
Yeah, I think what we were thinking about talking about today is breakups.
Breakups? Ooh, breakups. Okay.
Why breakups happen.
Well, they happen because he's a brr, 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 and she always nah, 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 nah.
Right.
And that's why.
And it's a blame game,
and
right?
they, and I'm perfect. Okay, so looking at a yin, so what might cause a breakup? Why a yang not yanging might cause a breakup, and then why a yin not yinning may cause a breakup. And it's not to say that that person is at fault for the breakup, because really we are each at fault for the breakup.
Right.
So so the yang is 100% responsible for any breakup that they have, and a yin is 100% responsible for any breakup that they go through. Not 50-50. We are 100% accountable for the experiences that come and the catalysts that arise through learning. That's the philosophy that we abide by. That's kind of what we have found to be true with the various crises and catalysts and whatever that we've gone through in our individual lives up to meeting here. So when we say, so it's not a blame for a yang not yanging, and it's not a blame for the yin not yinning. We're just looking at why that imbalance likely does cause an end of that relationship, of that agreement.
Well, and also too, just kind of note, it's about a conscious awareness of how you're showing up in a relationship makes all the difference as to how the dynamics work.
Right, that's a great point. So this is really not this is what happened with the breakup. Actually, this is how I can stay balanced within myself moving forward with the relationship I'm in or with the next relationship that comes. So it's kind of looking at what doesn't work so that you know what does. But the focus, we would like to be on what does work.
Right.
Cool.
But of course, this is a talk about breakups, so these are going to be the ones
So it
that
is all their fault.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
All their fault. Wow.
Yeah. They did this. They did that. They didn't do this.
Yes.
They didn't do that.
And I am the only one I know of where 100% of the time it was not my fault. just kidding. Definitely my fault.
Nice.
Yes. Cool. Okay, so where do we begin this?
So I think actually a really good dynamic to discuss are two yin energies first.
Okay, so two yins and it's not working.
Yep.
Okay, and so are we saying that they both are naturally yin, or are we saying that there's a yin and a yang that's yinning?
It's a yang that's yinning.
Okay, so turmoil that's caused, an imbalance that's caused because the yang is more and more yinning, so we end up with two individuals expressing yin energy. So all that's happening is yin energy.
Which is usually going to end up being nothingness. Like loss of everything, loss of spark, loss of interest, loss of love, loss of just any kind of energy dynamic.
Okay, so just a sort of lethargy, nothing's working, just sort of being dragged along, bobbing along in the ocean.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we've all been in those relationships where there were sparks at the beginning of the relationship because someone was yanging and someone was yinning, and there was a give and take there, and all of a sudden something else happened in the person that normally would yang, and that yang person became yin and just lost interest and lost drive, lost purpose. Lost their intention of living life. So the yin is like, now what? So you've got two yins that just aren't doing anything. It's one of those boring ass relationships that, you know, a lot of people get to after years of being together.
Right. I feel like let's just dive in with a solid example. And so I'll just throw myself up on the chopping block here. So I'll just bring up some scenarios in a previous relationship I had a long time ago, and some of the things that I know weren't really working. And so I was the yang in that relationship. I'm not really sure if what happened was this complete yinning, but maybe by looking at it, you can point out some areas where, oh yeah, Richard, this was a yin moment, this was a yin moment.
Okay.
And let's just see how that goes. So at the beginning of this relationship, I was really driven towards a career in the arts. And what kind of happened as the relationship progressed is just city life got expensive, and just there were catalysts happening in other areas of life. And so I put myself in a position where I believed that I had to work at all of this outside. I had to take a job doing other things so that I could do the art I wanted to do.
Okay.
Now what was happening was there was never enough, I was never bringing in enough abundance to make me feel like, oh, I had time or the other resources to create the art. Okay. So I was kind of spinning my wheels in this kind of rat race.
Yes.
With this, oh, if I make enough, then I will be able to.
Right.
And I just kind of had a burnout. And so I know that throughout that I was less and less doing the art that I was kind of dead set on doing at the beginning of the relationship.
Right. Right. Well, how did the yin, or how did your yang energy like lose its focus?
I'd say that it was my yang energy lost its focus because I didn't want to root down in the path that was kind of seemed like it was unfolding. So it was almost like I let off the throttle because I was like, well, I don't want to go down where this path goes.
Yes.
So that literally looked like I didn't want to root down in the city I was living in. I wanted to live in another city. And so during the relationship, I was not making moves that felt like progress there. So it wasn't making lasting relationships. I wasn't taking a job that would be a good 5 or 10 year journey.
Yeah.
I wasn't invested in our living space.
Right.
In that way. I would not want to buy a nice piece of furniture because I just wanted to leave the city. So I was not moving forward at all.
Yes.
In the life there. I was just sort of waiting around for some big thing to shoot me out of there.
Right. Okay.
And so while I wasn't giving up, I definitely was not directed towards building a life there. And I think that the yin I was with certainly wanted to feel like life was developing. I don't know how much that. I don't think it was directly that she wanted to be there, but she was with a partner who was not driving anywhere.
Right. Because
I also wasn't driving towards living in the city where I wanted to live.
Right.
I was just in I'm not there. This kind of negative spiral, and not wanting to put forth energy into not being there. I was playing the not game. Not.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing really.
Yeah.
That's not something I'd want to support if I was a yin.
Yeah, I'm hearing lack of clarity.
Yeah.
Because I think that is probably true for most yins that are in a relationship with normally a solid yang. When the yang's vector becomes a noodle,
right,
so to speak.
Yeah.
The yin essence will feel that energetically, like there's something off. There's something wobbly here. Now what? Now what are we focusing on? What are we focusing on? Right.
I'd say that. So as a reminder, the yang is the vector, so that has a direction and a magnitude.
Right.
So when you say noodle, that made me feel like a loss of magnitude.
Uh-huh.
And so I never had that. For me, it was the direction component.
Okay.
So it was all of this, but I wasn't driving. So I was spinning the wheels is really quite apt, I'd say.
Okay.
Because it was, yeah, I have all this energy, and yeah, I'll go do this, but nothing I was doing was bringing forth any sort of progress.
Yes.
Really anywhere.
Yes.
For my own art, for a life there, or for a life somewhere else.
Yeah.
It was just this kind of disgruntled, like, angst.
Yes.
No direction.
Yeah.
Plenty of energy, no direction.
Well, and that's what I mean, truthfully, if I were around someone that I had decided to support,
Right.
and I sensed that their wheels are spinning, as a conscious yin, what I would have done in that situation would have been like, what do we really want?
Right.
I would have kind of done a little yang tug and said, okay, how can I support you and get us focused on what our next steps are in the next 6 months and next year?
Right.
That's probably how I would have approached it.
Yes. Yeah, I think at the time, I think we both had assumptions about where we were going. And so...
Assuming never works. Ever works.
Well, it didn't. I'm happy to say it didn't work.
Yes.
So I wasn't driving towards my purpose, and so through that I did find myself supporting her purpose.
Interesting.
Her career. I mean, we were both the mutual support. Like, so it's not like a Cinderella, oh, now you're the, like, it wasn't so, there wasn't so much contrast.
Right.
There was a lot of support and a lot of fun. Mostly I was disgruntled.
Yes.
No direction. And then she also had career aspirations, and so it was sort of this, both of us climbing up a mountain and assuming that the other one is doing, it just wasn't.
Yeah. But it was interesting, you just used the term, I supported her purpose.
Yes.
Which she just ended up, it sounds like to me that she just assumed the yang role. Because
Yes.
she sensed that there was no yanging going on. It was just spinning.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And there was an aspect to that where I felt like I didn't want to be selfish.
Right.
I thought, I don't want it to just be all about me.
Right.
So I do want you to have happiness too. But yeah, it ended up looking like support. Yeah, like even some of the art, I'd say often the art projects that I was doing would utilize what she was working on for her career. So I would see, how can my art also be a boost for her work that she's doing.
Yeah.
So even when I would yang a little bit, there was still an aspect of supporting.
Right. Right. Was there any dynamic that you sensed near the end where you kind of had a sense of what was going on with y'all's polarities, like you had lost your purpose or your intention with the relationship, or she had lost interest in your purpose? Was there any of that kind of dynamic going on near the end?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say so. It was never spoken or addressed. But yeah, there was a just sort of kind of falling off. It just...
It's like the energy...
Like harmony was gone. Yeah.
The energy just fizzles.
Right. And so we were living in a city at that time, and so there's always a lot of stimuli and social things and people to see. So it's easy to be distracted and to not kind of face, oh, hey, where's the... You could just very easily get into like, oh, we're doing to this and going to that, and you just feel like you're living life.
Right. And you're meeting other people that also have energies that you're seeking out.
Right.
A lot of times, that's happened to me in the past, where whenever I noticed in my previous relationships, the energies were weird and not fitting, and there wasn't good interaction, and there wasn't an energetic polarity that was driving the relationship in growth ways.
Right.
I would seek out yang energies that I felt like I could respect and actually support. So yeah, absolutely, that happens. Especially, I mean, you know, if you're not a hermit or a monk living in the woods, yeah,
Right.
you're going to interact with other people, and you're going to look for those energies that complement you.
Right. Right. So yeah. So both the units. So no direction, really. I'd say that would be mainly where it was yin-yin. There was no direction.
Right.
It was a lot of supporting and no direction.
Yeah.
And so that was frustrating. Spinning wheels, not getting anywhere. The spinning wheels just kicks up dirt everywhere. I'd say that was probably the metaphor.
Right.
And
what would you say to someone that's going through that right now?
am I speaking to the yang?
I'm speaking to a person that tends to be a yang, yes, in a relationship that has the courage to choose a direction and a purpose.
Yes.
And an intention for the relationship.
I would say to that yang to identify their purpose and to create a roadmap on it. That's the best thing they can do for the relationship, even if it ends it sooner. Because so often, like we kind of, as in this circumstance, we were just sort of there for a long time. And it could have either taken off much sooner if I was on my purpose, yanging, or it could have ended much quicker and much just smoother. Oh, you don't want to do this? This is what I'm doing. Okay, cool.
Right.
Instead of this not wanting to know, oh, I don't want to hurt their feelings. I want to make sure that they're just, you know, with honor, with a straightforwardness, with an openness and honesty. I got to do this in my life. This is where I'm going. This is how I want to do it. And then and just kind of lay it out. And it may be ripping off the Band-Aid, or it may be the most joyful, oh my gosh, yes, thank you, let's go, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that. And then also to the yang, to this yang, maybe this would have been more specific to me, but maybe not. I would say to not worry about how it will look. Even though you plan out this journey, allow it to turn out differently. So, and to just let go of any no's. You know, so again, to use myself as an example, so much of me not going forth with my art at that time was because I wanted to move. And I did not want to root down and build a network there. I did not want to build a network there because I did not want to be rooted there, and I did not want to have to stay there. And so I created this thing where it's like this kind of catch-22, where it's like, oh, I gotta have some art in my portfolio to go to the city. Oh, but I don't want to build a portfolio because then I'm going to be stuck here. Not. Like, it's so silly.
Yes.
So to just let go of all that and just let it be very simple. What would feel good today? Okay, I want to paint. So paint.
Yes. Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Okay, well, whatever. If it's that hard right now, then go get a piece of paper and get a Crayola marker and just go for it. There's a famous photographer, I can't remember his name. If I think of it later, I'll put it in the comments. But this photographer would shoot, like they would get booked like 5 figures for a day to work with this person for like a half day. Like huge, famous photographer. And he would show up with a disposable camera. Remember those old 35 millimeter disposable cameras? Yeah. And, so his clients would be like, yo, I'm paying for da-da-da. And he goes, yo, you're paying for my expertise, and this is what I like, and this is the look, and so if you could take it or leave it.
Yes.
And so he had access to whatever expensive shit he wanted. And he comes with a little disposable camera that was less than $10 from the local pharmacy.
Yes.
So if it's that hard and all you can do is get a piece of paper or a shopping bag, a paper bag, and some Crayola crayons, at least you painted today.
Yeah.
And just let it be your choice.
Yeah. I love that.
So to just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
And let the rest fall, because then you will feel better. This yang will feel better on their purpose, just going forward with it. Mm-hmm. That will make them more available to the relationship.
Right.
It will let the yin see, oh, this is something to support, and yes, I want to, or no, I don't want to. Mm-hmm. And if they don't want to, then there is space now for a yin that will be on board with that, and it'll be a much better harmonious relationship innately.
Yeah.
So work on yourself.
Yep. That's yet again, it comes down to working on yourself.
Right.
And what is it about you, and how are you showing up in the relationship?
Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's great. So yeah, the yang in the relationship that's yinning and spinning.
Right. That's great. Yinning and spinning.
Yinning and spinning just needs to take responsibility for their own shit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. So Richard was not owning his shit.
Yes. You did afterward. You did later.
Well, I learned later, but in that moment, in that relationship, not handling his shit, and so spoiler alert, it doesn't work out.
Well, and also too, you weren't an awakened individual at the time.
No, this was before. This was the road to that self-realization.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
And and no shade to that relationship, to me in that relationship, or to the yin in that relationship. There's nothing sour there at all. Mm-mm. It just it was an imbalance.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. And I mean that's there's a lot of couples out there that are probably going through the very same thing that you went through.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure if we did get her out, she'd be like, yeah, why didn't he? I just needed him to.
And I would have gotten on board with that. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of times you'll see, in that when you've got two yins going to town like that.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have a thought, because so many, there is this culture in the West now of this, for the yins, really for the women that are yins, be your own woman, and you can, So let's say for the career-seeking woman who is a yin.
Uh-huh.
I feel like there's something to, even then, for the yang, if it is a heterosexual situation, for the male yang to also yang, because that, it feels like there's something in it. It feels like it might create the sense of a safety net for the yin to yang in her
Bingo.
In her endeavors.
It does.
So it's still
yes.
So there's still go, because I want to feel like it's okay. I can let my hair down to do this venture that I want to do.
Right.
Is there
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that is a huge dynamic. So as many of you know that have followed this podcast, at this point I'm a yang. I used to be a yang, but I'm a yin at essence, and I yanged for trauma, gremlin reasons out of childhood. So when I was in I was the yang in a relationship for many years. My impulse was I wanted him to yang more. I wanted him to yang more so that I could relax. So even though I was yanging and I was doing all of the bank accounts and all of the career moves and the job changes and all of this stuff, I wanted him to yang. And I didn't know that at the time, But looking back on it, of course, hindsight's always 20/20.
Right.
But that was essentially what the polarity was with. So that would be another scenario where a breakup can happen.
Right.
Would be where a yin essence is yanging, and then a yang essence is yinning.
Right.
And you've got the flip-flop of where they want to be, and they're not awake enough or conscious enough to realize that they're doing that to themselves.
Right, because it seems that having a yin partner that's yanging, then there's two yangs. And so that, it feels like there's something to that becoming a competition.
It was somewhat. Mm-hmm.
And so it's either, now this is my rival, my partner is my rival, kind of.
Yes.
Yet, so it's like either I just do that and compete, but that doesn't feel good, or just kind of pull off to not, to let the yin go.
Yeah.
Do it, but then it's like, well, now what do I do?
Right. And I think that was exactly what was happening with him. I think where his confusion was, and where his lack of clarity was, and lack of direction, was, I don't know what to do. Like, he literally didn't know what to do. He's like, well, Nancy's got it all. She's got it rolling. She's taking care of it all, so I don't know what to do.
Right.
So that actually flipped him in, even though he is a yang. He actually pulled way back because I was such a strong yang.
Okay, so would this be, again, like a no direction to go, or a no magnitude to go? So would this be a noodle?
I think he had both issues.
Oh, okay.
I think he had both issues. I think he had poor lack of focus from the get-go before he met me. But he did have magnitude. So like he had set wheels in motion for his career, which was a very masculine yang career, and that suited him very well. Well, when he did not have the focus around it, though, it just kind of just lost, and it just got puffy and not clear and not focused, and yeah, maybe I'll work this night, or maybe I'll work that day, or it was very wishy-washy.
Oh, so he did quite well. He worked up to a position where he wasn't clocking in. He could take a job or not.
He could.
He had the autonomy to do that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Right. Yeah, totally. So you know, he was definitely higher up in the echelons of his career.
Right.
But yeah, he chose to do that part-time, as opposed to taking the yang position of what I would say, looking back on it, what I really wanted him to do, what I desired, was for him to take the initiative of being a full-time yang. And say, you know, okay, we have these bills, we have these expenses. You want a vacation home? Well, let's do this. You know, I wanted him to take initiatives. Right. And he just stopped taking initiatives. So, in every aspect.
Right. So again,
and I tried to encourage him to do that, but it didn't land.
So a kind of clarifying question. It seems like you weren't wanting a knight in shining armor out of him. You just wanted him active in the journey.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice. That's a huge distinction, because I think for a yang, like, to me, that just gave me a sense of relief. Like, in putting myself in that scenario that we're painting, that would be such a relief to go, oh, okay. Yeah. So I don't have to compete with you. It's just we can be active in this journey together. Because there is this, like, old, you know, the yang is be the provider. You have to provide. And that doesn't have to mean providing resources directly, entirely. It can be, what you're providing can be, there's some play there with how it looks and what that looks like.
That's beautiful. Yes, that's exactly what that was.
You can still be the yang without bringing home the saber-toothed tiger on your shoulders and plopping it in the cave.
Exactly. That's exactly what and it was literally me trying to poke a sleeping bear at that point. It had gotten to that point.
Right.
Because I just felt like there was no ability to focus at all. And then he yinned so heavy that he got into alcohol, and that's where things really kind of fell apart. Because he pulled back so far.
I see. Okay. Nice. Alcohol being a yin-inducing agent.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess, so we did 2 yin, spinning, a yang that's spinning his wheels and then supporting. So this sort of yin-yang. I mean, that's not quite what that wasn't what we initially put forth, which was this kind of bobbing along in the ocean. Although I guess we sort of work without the direction, but this lethargy, yin-yang, 2 yins just completely...
Yeah. Just not doing anything. Like,
What
no
would
one's
that-
taken the initiative to change the relationship, to improve the relationship, to grow the relationship.
So this seems kind of worse. Like well, I don't want to say worse, but it seems like it doesn't come to an end.
Right.
So I guess
just
to me
keeps-
that's worse. On a personal note,
Yeah.
I would call that worse.
Yeah.
To never end. Just this, like, how does that?
Yeah, because
Come
two
to a
yins
close.
don't come to a close.
Right.
That is another aspect of yin energy, feminine energy. They keep talking and keep talking and keep talking, and the yang is like, okay, the conversation's over, goodbye.
Right.
That's a yang move. That's and yes, 2 yins will just keep rolling.
Right. So if we have these 2 yins that just keep rolling, what would be I don't know, some input. What would we be able to offer up to 2 yins just kind of floating through, maybe desiring a shift but not knowing?
So someone has to get the cojones.
Someone has to yang up.
Yang up. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Is it possible to be joint yangs?
I think yes too. I think that can help. I mean, you may need that injection first. You may need that energy drive first to get it rolling. But yes, to be in a conscious relationship, you still have to be very aware of who's taking what role in what moment. And that's you say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to be a yang for this trip, or if you wouldn't mind, I would really like to be the yang for when we decide which house to buy, or you take that initiative if you want to be the yang, and it's got to be agreed upon.
Sure.
And be okay with the dynamics from moment to moment, and not hold on to any outcomes either. And not actually say, well, X has to happen, Y has to happen, or whatever.
By Z.
Yes, exactly. But because you kind of have to have, just like we've said before, even a yang has to have a little bit of yin in it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And vice versa. And so that is the beauty of kind of being aware of these dynamics, knowing, oh, I'm a yang. Yes, I have a yin-ness to me to a degree that's individuated. And then likewise, a yin has a yang essence within also. And so a conscious relationship is such that you can do that all the time, and that can be really quite beautiful. To go, okay, yes, this is my birthday vacation, so I'm going to totally yang it, and da-da-da-da-da-da. Or if I'm the yang, hey, this is your birthday, call the shots. Like, whatever you want to do, da-da-da-da-da. How can I support you having a great birthday vacation?
Yes.
Yeah, so week by week, moment by moment even, just whatever those moments are for the relationship, you can totally do that. Nobody has to always be bringing home a saber-toothed tiger.
Right, exactly.
And nobody always has to be, whatever, beautifying the living space.
Yes.
Right.
But I do believe, though, that the polarities will fizzle. That energetic connection that you have with another individual will fizzle if you've got 2 unconscious yangs or 2 unconscious yins going to town.
Right.
Because, yes, 2 yangs are going to be competing, and then 2 yins won't get nothing done.
Right.
I don't know why I did that hand gesture. That was funny.
I dug it. So yeah, let's get to the two yangs, the yang yang. But before we do, this podcast is brought to you by Shared Heart Journeys, sharedheartjourneys.world, tools for the awakening life. You can log on now, book a free 30-minute coaching session with either Nancy or myself before embarking on your personalized 12-week coaching journey towards identifying your own personal yin-yang balance in order to achieve what it is you desire most, or what you feel is at this moment most lacking or most not present, how to bring that about in your life through awareness of your personal yin-yang balance. So go ahead, log on to sharedheartjourneys.world and go ahead and click book free consult, and we look forward to meeting you.
Yeah.
Also, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Shared Heart Journeys. All right, yang yang.
Yang and yang.
I'm thinking of the Maroon 5 song. You and I go hard at each other like we're going to war. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Just like.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so yang yang.
Or that could be really two extreme polarities too.
Yes.
Yeah, that could be all the way like super heavy yang and super heavy yin.
Right.
So that could be that kind of polarity.
Yeah, the song. Right.
Yes.
Okay, so yang and yang.
Yang and yang. Do you know any yang and yang couples? I think I do.
I don't think I do. I mean, it's sort of, I mean, generally in the West now, there is this sense of, for the heterosexual circumstance, for men and women, it's women go do and be the career woman and and men take a back seat. So there is this sort of letting the women yang and the men yin. I saw that all the time in Los Angeles. Like everywhere you look, it like literally looks like that. It doesn't suit me. I was not interested in yinning a relationship. Yeah, so while I could personally say there's a lot of distortion there, for many people that's working.
Right.
But that's a kind of shift, a sort of like bringing up the yang and turning down the yang here. That's not two yangs like
going at it.
Yang. So
yeah, I'd actually kind of see this, and this had a lot to do with why I chose to not have a physician as a husband or a boyfriend or anything, because I really felt like we would be energetically at competition, competing.
Right.
So it never felt natural to me at all.
Right. Yeah, that happened
while I was a yang.
Right. Yeah, there is a challenge to that with yeah, I had that I was dating someone when I was in school, in grad school. And so we were both like like almost not quite the same major, but like similar. Yeah. Both in the arts, in the same art media. And so it was this like oh, I'm so happy I got this victory, but oh, like I don't want to come home happy because I don't know, maybe it sucks for her today. Yeah. And vice versa. And then when she had a big thing, it was like, oh, I need a victory. So I see that. Yeah. Yeah. So two yangs. So they both have a direction, and they both have an energy towards that direction. Or is it the same direction that they're going for? Well, I mean, unless each one has really well developed their yin capacities, I can't see how that would work energetically after years and years and years. And I would love for people to comment or shoot us a message if you've seen yang and yang work well and you don't fight every day. Right. Truthfully. Right. I would really like to see that. I've been around the block quite a few years and had lots and lots and lots of interaction with different couples and different types of couples, especially when you see people at their most vulnerable as patients and their spouse is right there with them. I've totally seen the yang and yang thing, and it's not a comfortable room to be in. So what is it?
So, I mean, usually what's happening is it's a control or power struggle. Is that's the dynamic in the unawake relationships.
Right.
If they're awake, they usually know if they're crossing a line.
Right.
But a lot of times what I'll see is the dynamic is, say for instance, a yang, as in a male doing yang, comes in, has a real strong desire for him to be in the know, in control, not necessarily toxic, but you can just tell they're like, I want to be right in the middle of it all. And then you've got a yang female that is, say for instance, that's the patient. In my experience, seeing these dynamics, a physician is talking to the female, that's the yang, and she is willing to talk and talk and talk, and then if he interjects, she just blasts him. Like right in front of everybody.
Oh, so neither of them want to be deviated from their direction.
Correct.
And when those directions are not parallel,
Right.
it's an explosion.
It is. Because it's high energy.
Right.
It's there's no relaxation, there's no allowance, there's no faith, there's no acceptance.
Well, where's the reprieve also? Like,
Right.
where are the cooling energies?
There's no cooling, it's all heat.
Right.
It's all friction, it's two friction energies.
Right. Fire.
I've seen I've also seen couples that where you have a yanging female where they literally felt like they're being abused because they keep jabbing, literally jabbing the yanging male out of attempts to control or to feel powerful because they haven't worked on themselves.
Right.
Yet again, it gets back down to, have you done your work? So in this scenario, you can't point your finger at a overbearing male.
Right. Well, in hashtag, nobody can really point at anybody. Just
No.
That's our philosophy.
Exactly. You have
in
to
any
work
circumstance.
on yourself.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, yes. No blame point, no blame.
No.
It's your own stuff that you need to work on first.
Right.
But if you're pointing your finger at somebody else for doing something that you are accusing them of, check your own shit first.
Right.
Because you may be adding friction to that fire.
Right. And yes, I don't know, I just feel this like little, well, they're still a bad person for da-da-da. And that may very well be. They may be a terrible, horrible person. But we can much quickly and much more efficiently shift ourselves to be in a place where we will not be met with that sort of energy or even with that person directly. And so by self-work, you will be free of that type of person and maybe that person and maybe that specific person. Rather than always wanting to change somebody, that's never going to work. You're going to be met with obstacle. So that's why we say no blaming. It will not serve you to blame.
No.
And even if you are right, even if it's justified, it doesn't feel good. Try it. Blame somebody for something and notice how good it does not feel. How bad it feels. And then try to go, oh, well, actually, how did I contribute to putting myself in this scenario? And adjust that thing, which you can very well do.
Yep.
And then you'll find that you're on a totally different path with a totally different environment, totally different world.
Right.
So that's the no blaming.
Well, and also too, I think another way to even approach that is, in order to add cooling to the friction that's happening, each person has to take responsibility for their own cooling.
Right.
So that, of course, you blow up and you go off into your corners, right? Well, what are you doing when you're doing that? You're cooling down the friction, right?
Right, by creating distance between. Yeah.
So the better, more holistic way of doing this is you ask yourself, is this the most loving thing for my relationship for me to stay here?
Right.
Period. I mean, look at it like that. Is it loving for me? Is it
Right.
loving for them? Is it loving for us, for me to stay right here and continue to jab the shit out of that sleeping bear?
Right.
Or that roaring bear,
Right.
in a yang sense.
So we're also not suggesting that if you are a yang and you are wanting a relationship with somebody who's a yang, we're not saying don't do that. It actually could be quite beautiful. If that is what is happening, if they're, you know what, we're two yangs in a relationship, then perhaps how can you create the cooling energies you need for yourself, each of you, so that you can still yang, 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 yang.
Right.
So do you each need to go get a massage or have a spa day periodically? Since that your partner is not always going to provide the support in that way, how can you each make sure that you have this cooling time, go have that fishing trip or whatever, I don't know, whatever it is, so that you have your own balance, and then the two yangs can still be yinging. Because that actually, I mean, that's kind of the basis of competition. So two people at the top of their field that see each other as rivals. They're not in a personal relationship, but just the guy at work who keeps trying to get your promotion, or the girl at work that keeps trying to get your promotion. That competition is actually keeping each of you at the top of your game. So it's really the biggest, most beautiful cooperation. So even though they can't stand each other probably, just that catalyst, just that that friction is keeping each of them so pristine in what it is that they're after. It's actually a cooperation. So to be in a personal relationship with two yangs, that actually could be a beautiful way for each of you to kind of reach the top of your mountains. However, create your own cooling energies so that you don't rip each other's heads off.
Right. Well, and that's where self-care comes in.
Right.
If you are not applying self-care in any scenario, then yes,
Right.
self-care is actually a feminine yin quality.
Right.
So that means you're pulling back out of the hot water.
Right. So if you go to sleep at night, you might have some yin.
Exactly. I hope so. Well, and all creatures, all of us are balanced with yin and yang energy.
Right.
So, but sometimes we get lost in our own unconscious, whether it's traumas or conditioning, or we're going with the flow of society, whatever the case may be. We get distracted by what others are saying.
Forget others. Ugh.
Yeah.
What do they know?
Yes.
Nothing.
You know yourself better than anyone else.
Yes.
So that's what we're essentially all about, is learning us, and we're doing this along with you. We're learning every day more about ourselves and how our dynamics work. Which is fabulous, and then we one up all the time. We get better and better and fine tune.
Yes.
And no, we don't.
That one up is leveling up together. That's not like like Nancy went up to me. I went up to Nancy.
No, you're leveling up.
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's leveling up, not one up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's absolutely, and take responsibility. If there's any kind of message that we can get across to everyone, is just take responsibility for your own shit, because it's not the other person's fault, ever.
No, and that's really such a relief, because if it is up to you, you can change you. So great. So Yeah. So why not change yourself in such a way that you feel good? Let that be the change, that, I want to feel good. I don't feel good, I want to feel good. Getting to feeling good is the change. That's the only change.
Right.
Ultimately.
And yes, when you do change your self-image and how you feel about yourself, there's going to be relationships that pop. The bubbles will pop. People will go away. But new ones will come into your new bubble.
Yes, and it's nothing personal for anybody. It's not, they don't jive, nah, nah, nah. It's just literally, it doesn't flow. Everybody deserves flow. Would you not want them to be flowing? Great, and if they're flowing over there away from you, let them flow. Rather have two people flowing separately than creating a
chaotic mess.
Right.
And I think it also, the chaos does serve. It serves us to grow.
Yes. Stay tuned. We have a new studio coming.
Yes.
Chaos.
Speaking of chaos, chimes, birds, people, dogs.
Let's use that as an example. So we have, as we've started this podcast, we have had challenges finding this space and time that is conducive for this, with the fewest interruptions for you guys. Loud shit in the speakers, and so that can be neighbors, it can be yard work, it can be helicopters, it can be cats. And so today, in fact, we moved outside. We thought, okay, well then we'll leave the cats inside and at least we can be outside. And so literally right when we set up everything, a neighbor started pressure washing their car. And we're like... And so that was a huge moment of chaos and catalyst. And so I don't know, we just kind of laughed at it and thought, well, okay, we'll either do it tonight or whatever, let's just have some tea. And in the tea time, while the neighbor was washing the car, we decided to find a studio, to rent a studio locally for us. And so we found one, and we're going to check it out after this.
Yeah.
So catalysts are not bad, but a change, you won't, it won't be the same after the catalyst as before.
Yeah.
It can't be.
It's growth.
Right.
Change is good. You can count on change.
Changes. Changes. Yeah, change is good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't want it to stay the same. Try it. You won't enjoy it. That's the flat.
Yeah.
Humdrum.
It's funner to change in life than it is to feel secure.
Right.
It really is. You gotta
How much fight is there in staying secure? The fight of security.
Yeah, people do it all the time.
Rather than just let the change go and ride the flow.
Yeah. And always question yourself, am I in a relationship for security? Whether it's a yin or a yang energy, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Am I staying in a relationship even though the polarity's gone? Am I staying there because I feel secure here and I'm scared of change?
Right.
I think that's a huge tip. I wish I had asked myself that many times.
Sorry, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here.
Let's see, did we cover everything? Yin yin.
Yang yin.
Yang yin. Yeah.
The reverse. And then yang yang.
All right. Complete?
Yeah, that's pretty complete. This is a good topic.
Okay, cool. If we missed something, send us a comment. If you have questions, send us a comment.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I would love to hear if anybody resonates with these, where you've come across or had your own relationships where you're yang yanging or you're yin yinning and you're like, whoo, this is not working, or you're reversed.
Yes. When
you didn't feel like you should be in those positions.
Yes, and a quick thank you to those that are leaving comments, because we have had a couple few, and I think if we get a few more, we can just do an answer questions episode.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll just individually create episodes for the questions that do exist.
Yes. Sounds good.
Cool. All right, sharedheartjourneys.world. This has been an episode of the Divine MF Podcast.
Thanks, guys. Bye.